A neighbor's concerned 911 call
I see blood all over there in her driveway.
leads to a horrifying discovery.
There was an incredible amount of blood smeared on the floor of the kitchen.
They could not locate her daughter anywhere.
Did the killer mistakenly return to the scene of the crime?
His behavior was very erratic, and he was very nervous.
He's asking strange and oddly specific questions about what happened.
Or was he one step ahead of investigators all along?
He said, "I'm about to kill you."
She knew what happened because she witnessed it with her own eyes.
I really didn't even know where I was at because you go into a moment of like nothing is real. I asked the Lord, I need justice for mine.
He was considered an armed and dangerous person.
I'm not copping out to know that I ain't do. I'm just mad about it.
Black women, like
2023. It's Tuesday night in Cleveland, Ohio's North Collinwood neighborhood, a community situated along the shores of Lake Erie.
That specific neighborhood is an up-and-coming type of neighborhood.
North Collinwood is mostly middle class, typically very quiet, very family-oriented.
Late that night, one Collinwood resident is getting ready for bed when he overhears a commotion coming from the home of his neighbor, 34-year-old Jovan Lynch.
There was arguing between a male and a female. It was a really aggressive argument. And then suddenly he heard two bangs.
For a moment, he thinks the loud bangs he heard were gunshots, but he second-guesses himself and goes on to sleep.
The next morning, however, he can't shake his uneasy feelings about the commotion he heard the night before.
He decided to go check on his neighbor, Jovan.
And when he reaches the driveway, it's clear something isn't right.
He saw blood all over the driveway.
He noticed that Jovan's SUV was not parked where it usually is, and that there was a car that he'd never seen before parked in the backyard.
Jovan? Are you in there?
The neighbor did go over, knock on the door. There was no response.
He decided to get the police involved with a welfare check on the family.
Cleveland Police Department, how may I help you today?
My neighbor, something might be wrong with her.
He tells the dispatcher about the noises he heard the night before.
I went outside, I see blood all over there in her driveway. Her truck is gone and there's blood all in her driveway. But somebody else's car is in the backyard that's stuck in the mud.
Upon receiving the call from Jovan's neighbor, investigators are immediately dispatched to the scene.
They also noticed a trail of blood in the driveway.
And they followed the blood back to a car, and once they arrived at the car closer, they could see that there was a person on the passenger seat.
Inside the car is a young woman that looks like Jovan, but she's not moving. They can see that she is covered in blood.
The reason why becomes clear.
Jovan has been shot in the head.
34-year-old single mom Jovan Ferguson Lynch valued family above all else.
She had 3 sisters, and she had a mother whom she had a close relationship with. She was the life of the family and the life of the party.
I would give anything for her. She loved her family so sincerely, so dearly. We're a really close-knit family. What made my sisters and my best friends is because we had to go through everything together. Sisters go through things, but we return back to that circle, no matter what. Jovan's just always been rays of sunshine.
In 2015, Jovan and her husband, JR, welcomed their daughter, Tamia, and she quickly became Jovan's biggest source of pride and joy.
She loved her daughter. Hearing her talk about her baby and how much Tamia means to her, how it changed her whole perspective on life, how she saw the world differently, how she started to love. Tamia, her heart and joy. Nothing else mattered on this planet.
However, Jovan and JR's relationship couldn't stand the test of time.
For 3 years before my niece was born, they were off and on.
He had a slew of drug trafficking charges.
They decided to officially go their separate ways when Tamia was around 2 years old.
They were married still, but they weren't together.
In 2021, JR was sent to prison on weapons charges, and Jovan tried to move on with her life.
Jovan immediately threw herself into single motherhood, building the best life she could for herself and her young daughter.
It took time, but finally, Jovan started to find her footing again.
She finally got to a place where it was time to hit the reset button. 5 years was the time she needed to recoup and to get back to square one. And she had finally done that.
In early 2023, Jovan found a new home for herself and Tamia in the North Collinwood neighborhood.
My sister had just recently moved to a new place. I hadn't even seen it yet.
Jovan saw the new house as the perfect place to start the next chapter of her life. She had even started dating again.
But now, the happy life Jovan worked so hard to build has been ripped away in the blink of an eye after Cleveland police found her shot to death in a car in her backyard.
The police determined that Jovan was shot twice in the head, but there was not enough blood in the car for that to have been the actual crime scene.
So they believe that the shooting took place elsewhere and her body was placed in that vehicle.
Detectives also realized that the car appears to be stuck in the mud and there's no license plate on it. Detectives believe that the killer removed the license plates in order to have the car not be able to be identified.
It was too late to save Jovan, but was her daughter safe?
When investigators gain access to Jovan's home, they make a grisly discovery.
There's blood everywhere, but there's still no sign of the little girl.
The discovery forces officers to consider a chilling possibility.
Could Jovan's daughter have been kidnapped by the...
34-year-old single mother Jovan Lynch had rebuilt her life after separating from her husband, JR.
She had just moved into a beautiful new home with her 7-year-old daughter and had even started dating again.
She was so extremely happy. She was having fun.
But on February 8th, Jovan's new home has turned into a crime scene when she's found shot to death in her own backyard.
Investigators believe that she was killed inside her home and then placed in the car outside.
They find what was an incredible amount of blood on the floor of the kitchen. They also found 2 spent casings from a .380 caliber weapon, along with 1 live round on the kitchen floor.
There were signs that somebody attempted to clean up the crime scene because there was a bloody mop laying nearby.
What's more, Jovan's 7-year-old daughter, Tamia, is nowhere to be found.
This forces police to consider a disturbing possibility.
Could Jovan's daughter have been kidnapped by the killer?
She could be in horrible danger.
Once police were not able to locate Tamia, they went ahead and put an APB out for her.
Meanwhile, officers canvassing the neighborhood make a lucky find.
Investigators find a house that has security cameras just a short ways down the street.
Fortunately, the citizen was willing to let the police look at the footage on their camera from the night before.
And investigators quickly find what they're looking for.
Around 10 p.m., they see the sedan pull into the driveway and go behind the house.
There's no more activity for a few hours. Until 1:44 a.m.
And that's when they see Jovan's SUV backing out of the driveway.
The SUV then turns around in a neighbor's driveway and heads westbound towards downtown Cleveland. Investigators can't determine where he went next.
Unfortunately, investigators were unable to tell who was driving the car and if Tamia was also in the vehicle.
But investigators are certain the person driving the car is Jovan's killer. And by the time they finish their canvass of the neighborhood, Jovan's family has begun to arrive at the crime scene.
My mother called me and she was like, I think something happened to Jovan. So I jumped in my car and I called my big sister. I'm telling her we gotta get to Jovan's house. And we get there and everybody's there. And the only thing I can ever remember is there was a lot of chaos.
Law enforcement confirms to the family that Jovan has in fact been killed, and Jovan's mother and sister cannot hold back their anguish. They are extremely emotional and upset.
I was on crutches. All I remember is hearing my sister cry and saying Jovan's name. I remember my mom pacing, and I remember hearing that scream of my mom. All of that is a fog to me. I went blank. Nothing made sense to me. I was numb that day. I really didn't even know where I was at because you go into a moment of like, nothing is real.
Jovan's family is also devastated to learn that little Tamia is missing.
The moment that we couldn't find Tamia, like everything paused. This is my niece. I gotta find my niece. I gotta figure out what's going on, make sure that she's okay.
Of course they want answers. We would all want answers.
They wouldn't give us no answers when we first got there.
That's when the real panic sets in.
One of Jovan's nieces became so emotional that she actually charged through the crime scene tape.
My child shot off, and they tried to tackle my child. My niece was going in because they closed this say auntie. We all want to make sure it's her because you're not believing it.
She unfortunately had to be detained so that the police could preserve the integrity of the crime scene.
That shifted a lot of things where it brought like more anger. I had a cast on. I busted that cast that day.
This was a very emotional scene for everyone.
That was enough for investigators to determine that the family was just too emotional to be there. So they escorted them down to the police station to get them calm and to be able to interview them at a later point.
After the family has been escorted away, someone else shows up at the crime scene demanding information about Jovan.
The man tells police that he's Jovan's boyfriend, but he refuses to give his name or any other contact information. And this is immediately a red flag for investigators.
The police see this gentleman's behavior as very erratic, and he was very nervous.
And his behavior just becomes more and more bizarre.
The man then goes on to start asking strange and oddly specific questions about what happened to Jovan. He wants to know if she was shot in the temple and if the hole in her head was big.
He also asked, was she shot in the kitchen?
They were kind of weird questions because they were about specifics about what had gone on in the house, and none of that information had been released yet.
This forces us to consider, could he have committed the crime?
Police have just been approached by a man who claims to be the boyfriend of murder victim Jovan Lynch, and who seems to know some oddly specific details about her murder.
Initially, he asked the patrol officers if she had large bullet holes in her head and whether or not she had been shot in the kitchen. This gave police cause for concern because they hadn't released those intimate details surrounding the condition in which she died.
This forces us to consider, could he have committed the crime?
They were so concerned about this man's erratic behavior and the fact that he knew so much information that they detained him in the back of the police cruiser.
When detectives come over to question the man, he finally, reluctantly gives them his name.
He says his name is Marlon.
When the police ask him how does he know so much about the crime, he tells them something very surprising. He says that he was on the phone with Jovan as it happened.
He explains that him and Jovan had been dating for some time now, and their relationship had gotten so serious that they were talking about getting married.
But there was one major obstacle to that.
Jovan was still legally married to her estranged husband, J.R. Lynch.
He was just released from prison on a weapons charge.
You just got out for the few weeks. He was still on parole.
Marlon said that JR just didn't seem right, and he had warned Jovan several times not to allow JR in the house.
Marlon didn't trust JR. He knew that JR was very jealous. He knew that JR had threatened to hurt Jovan before.
So Marlon says he was surprised and unhappy to learn that JR was coming to Jovan's house last night.
Marlon told the police that while he was on the phone with Jovan, she told him that JR was headed to her house.
Marlon begged her not to let JR in.
But she reassured Marlon that he was just coming over to give her some money and so that they could talk.
I'm sure she wanted her daughter to have access to her father and vice versa. He hadn't seen her in 5.5 years.
But after JR arrived, it sounded like he was angry to find Jovan on the phone with Marlon in the kitchen.
Who you on the phone with?
The situation escalated when JR realized that Jovan was on the phone with another man.
Marlon says that JR got jealous and snatched the phone from Jovan.
Marlon hoped that by talking to his girlfriend's estranged husband, he could de-escalate the situation. But that's not what happened.
The two of them exchanged words, and Marlon told JR to put Jovan back on the line. But instead of hearing Jovan's voice, the next thing Marlon said he heard was a loud boom. And then the line went dead.
At the time, Marlon thought the loud boom he heard was a door slamming.
But now Marlon realizes it wasn't a door. It was a gunshot.
It wasn't until the next day where he saw the social media post as a result of the APB that his worst fears had come true. Jovan was dead.
At the end of the interview, detectives are skeptical of Marlon's story.
Not only has his behavior at the scene been a little strange, parts of his story just don't quite add up.
If things really played out the way he said, and he was really concerned about Jovan, why wouldn't he go last night to check on her instead of just going to sleep?
However, when detectives look into the man Marlon pointed the finger at, Jovan's estranged husband, J.R. Lynch, they begin to think Marlon could be telling the truth.
Detectives quickly realized that Marlon was not joking around about JR being bad news. His criminal record stretches back nearly 20 years.
He has a long rap sheet, and pretty much he's been in and out of prison his entire adult life.
He has convictions for dozens of serious felonies.
And when detectives sit down with Jovan's family, they have even more reason to suspect JR for Jovan's murder.
When investigators spoke with Jovan's family to look more into the relationship between JR and Jovan, the family was not surprised that the investigation turned towards JR.
I know that JR had put his hands on my sister before. I knew that things had happened.
Her family also said that she had told them about threats that JR had made to her.
And the family says there's one threat in particular that really stands out.
JR broke into Jovan's house one night and started waving his weapon in her face.
In 2017, there was an incident where he had threatened to kill her.
Cleveland detectives investigating the murder of 34-year-old Jovan Lynch and the disappearance of her 7-year-old daughter, Tamia, have just learned that her estranged husband, 35-year-old J.R. Lynch, has made some pretty serious threats against his wife.
According to the family, things between Jovan and JR had never really been all that great.
I don't remember there being some great time. It did not start off well. It was never good.
JR was increasingly compulsive and controlling. He was in and out of jail nonstop, and he could not provide a living for his family.
Jovan's family hoped that JR would correct his ways and make a turn towards being the type of father and husband that he needed to be.
But unfortunately, he just continued in a downward spiral. Family members said that JR started threatening Jovan. He threatened to harm her and to beat her up.
I know that JR was beating on my sister physically, and not just physical domestic violence, but mental abuse, spiritual abuse.
JR was a classic abuser, and it was all about power and dominance.
It was hard for Jovan's family to watch her go through that, but Jovan couldn't cut him off completely because of their young daughter.
But eventually, something happened that caused Jovan to decide she was done with JR. For good.
In 2017, there was an incident where JR broke into Jovan's house and held her at gunpoint and threatened to kill her. JR and Jovan were separated at this time.
While waving his weapon in her face, he told Jovan, "I'm about to kill you."
Somehow, Jovan was able to talk him down, call the police, and have him arrested.
After that, Jovan kept JR at arm's length, especially after he was arrested again in 2021 on weapons charges and sentenced to 2 years in prison.
But based on what Marlon said, it seems that JR was trying to find a way to wiggle back into Jovan's life.
He got out of prison just weeks before Jovan's death.
He may have finally followed through on his threats to kill her.
Having all this information at hand and having his criminal record and statements from Jovan's family and from Marlon, police believe they have enough to get a search warrant.
After doing some digging, detectives determined that JR is currently living in an apartment on Cleveland's east side with his family. He's been staying there since he got out of prison.
Police raced to the apartment, hoping not only to find JR, but his daughter Tamia as well.
Unfortunately, though, they're out of luck.
When they arrive, there's no sign of JR, nor he and Jovan's daughter, but his mother is there. She confirms that her son had been living with her for the last few weeks, but she says the last time she saw him was 2 or 3 days ago.
However, last night around 2 a.m., JR called her in a panic. He was begging her for a ride and told her that his car ran out of gas on the way to Columbus.
He said that he needed money and he needed her car. And if you don't come help me, you will probably never see me again.
What she was hearing from her son had her very concerned.
She was having car trouble herself, so she asked another family member to go meet him near where he broke down at in Columbus.
She asked them to meet JR at a gas station, and when they did, they gave JR some money, and he, in return, gave them his daughter.
JR's mother tells detectives that Tamia is still with those relatives, about half an hour west of Cleveland.
For detectives, this was a massive break. If this is true, then Tamia is safe.
But it seems as though JR was on the run and they had no idea where he could be.
Through JR's mother, Police make contact with the family members who have Tamia and make arrangements for those family members to drop Tamia off at the police station.
And everyone breathes a sigh of relief when little Tamia is safely in police custody.
All I recall is her being at the police station. That's all I was thinking. Get her here. That baby deserves as much love as there is in this world to give her. I needed her to feel loved and secure.
A thorough medical examination reveals that Tamia has not been physically harmed, thankfully.
However, the same cannot be said psychologically.
And when detectives arrange for a child therapist to conduct an interview with Tamia, they learn that the little girl may be the key to solving this case.
Tamia says she knows exactly what her father did to her mother.
She witnessed it with her own eyes.
And J.R. Lynch has just told a child therapist that she witnessed her father kill her mother.
Through a child therapist, Tamia says she knows exactly what her father did because she witnessed it with her own eyes.
Physically, she was unharmed. Mentally is another thing. This 7-year-old child was an eyewitness to her mother being murdered.
While detectives observe from another room, Tamia tells a child therapist exactly what she witnessed and went through.
Tamia says that yesterday, her daddy, JR, comes over to her mother's house and they get into an argument.
Yo, who are you on the phone with?
Tamia watched the argument unfold from another room, terrified.
Tamia says Daddy had a gun and shot Mommy with it. She then tells the therapist that Mommy got hurt in the forehead and couldn't speak after that.
Tamia says Mommy was all bloody and Daddy picked up Mommy and put her in his car.
Tamia, come get my keys!
Tamia said that as her father was dragging her mother out of the house, he instructed her to find her mother's car keys.
And then when he came back from moving the body, Tamia says he was covered in mud and blood, and then tried to mop up some of the blood that was in the house.
Tamia tells the therapist that eventually her father picked her up and carried her out into the cold weather without a jacket.
He then put her into Jovan's SUV and fled the scene.
She said while they were driving in the car, JR kept cursing a lot and she felt very scared.
And in a particularly heartbreaking moment, the little girl begs for help.
While she was talking to the therapist, she paused for a moment from giving details and said, "Just please make me safe." She said, "I don't feel safe from my daddy because he took me."
She says that she's afraid because he's going to be looking everywhere for her.
I can't imagine the amount of trauma that this child experienced. She had an awareness that she was in danger, that this was not a safe person for her. That is extremely traumatic for anybody to deal with, to experience, let alone just a small child.
That baby was traumatized not only from what had already happened, but from what she thought could quite possibly happen in the very near future.
With an eyewitness account directly from the victim's young daughter, any remaining doubt about JR's guilt is gone.
But to deliver justice to Jovan's family, investigators still need to track him down.
The police know now that they have enough evidence to actually issue a murder warrant for J.R. Lynch. So they do exactly that.
They also alert other law enforcement agencies around the state to be on the lookout for both JR and for Jovan's missing vehicle.
JR's last known location was on a roadside gas station, but by now that information is a day old and he could be hundreds of miles away.
Hoping that JR's cell phone might help lead them to his current location, detectives next try to track any towers his phone might have pinged off of.
They actually discovered that he doesn't have cell coverage.
JR's phone only connects to Wi-Fi, so he does not have to purchase a coverage plan.
Thankfully, though, investigators catch a lucky break when they learn that Jovan's stolen SUV is equipped with internal GPS.
They're able to contact the service provider and get the SUV's exact coordinates.
But when detectives track down the vehicle, it's another dead end.
When they finally track down the car by the GPS, they find it abandoned and there is no sign of JR.
Nobody's seen, heard, or talked to him or know where he is. And no one has any information to be able to get in contact with him either.
As days pass with no leads on JR's whereabouts, detectives have to get creative.
They collaborate with the Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force to get them to post JR as their fugitive of the week.
The Fugitive Task Force was able to help them plaster his face literally everywhere. They went to the last resort of offering a monetary reward for any information that could be used to locate him.
They engaged social media and the news outlets. They put his picture out there.
For Jovan's family, it's the worst kind of waiting game.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, my words was either turn yourself in or kill yourself, because that's where I was at. And I asked the Lord, I need justice for mine. If he has any ounce of remorse, turn yourself in.
But as time continues to pass, hope begins to diminish.
A week into their investigation, they were losing hope. Cases go cold after this amount of time.
JR could be anywhere by now. Is he?
After nearly a week of searching for 34-year-old Jovan Lynch's killer, her estranged husband, JR, remains on the run.
At this point, police and Jovan's family aren't sure if JR will ever be brought to justice for killing his wife and kidnapping their 7-year-old daughter.
His face was all over social media. It was on any wanted poster that you could find. It was all over the news.
He was considered an armed and dangerous person.
But on February 13th, JR surprises everyone when he shows up at Cleveland Police Headquarters.
He walked right into the police, unprovoked, not in custody, and he turned himself in.
The police had enough evidence to press forward with a prosecution of this guy.
They hit JR with an 11-count indictment, including murder, endangerment of a child, and abuse of a corpse.
To ensure that he would stay put, once he realized how much trouble he was in, the court did set his bond at $2.5 million. And this would ensure that he would be behind bars until he went to trial.
Rather than face a jury of his peers, JR's attorneys urge him to choose a bench trial.
With a bench trial, the judge has sole decision-making power based on the evidence from the prosecution and the defense. The future of this man lies solely in the hands of this judge.
This was a call that his attorneys made that he didn't necessarily fully agree with, but it was their legal strategy.
It honestly seemed like a tense situation between he and his lawyers.
JR was heard on several jail calls, complaining about his attorneys.
I keep on saying he don't want them. He'll represent himself first.
Yeah, I just want new lawyers. They, like, period, point blank, these dudes is no good. You know what I'm saying? He gonna say, oh yeah, I'm not doing a good job because I'm not copping out to know that I ain't doing. Like, them dudes are jokes, man. And I'm just mad about the shit.
Regardless, on August 5th, 2024, JR's bench trial begins. When prosecutors present their case, they argue that Jovan Lynch is dead because of her estranged husband's jealousy and rage.
Prosecutors say the motive behind this is because even after years of them being apart, he was still jealous. He didn't want Jovan to be with anybody else.
Even though they had not been together for over 5.5 years, because of his jealousy and because of his obvious anger issues, none of that mattered. What mattered was that I am JR and you are my woman.
He could not let her go and move on with her life.
And he chose to end her life rather than letting her move on.
He shot his wife 2 times in the head, all while their 7-year-old daughter was in the home.
After that, he made a half-hearted attempt to clean up the crime scene before dragging Jovan's body down the driveway out to his car in the backyard.
His original plan was to go dump the body somewhere, but he got stuck in mud. So he decided to leave her there, take their daughter, and go on the run.
The most moving and dramatic moment of the trial comes when Jovan and JR's daughter takes the stand herself to recount what she witnessed the night of her mother's murder.
Tamia tells the court everything.
She gave grave detail that was able to put the judge in the scene as if he was there and as if he witnessed it himself. She was a phenomenal witness.
For her to be able to get up there and testify to what she saw and what happened, that takes an incredible amount of bravery for that young girl to be able to do that.
It was her testimony that swayed the judge in knowing that the facts that were being presented to him were absolutely beyond a reasonable doubt true.
After a 4-day trial, the judge finds JR guilty of a long list of charges, including murder.
The judge tells him, Mr. Lynch, if there was ever an individual that doesn't deserve to walk free, it's you.
Pete was disrespectful. He had smirked throughout the whole court scene, the whole trial.
The judge asked him, "Do you think this is funny?"
He's given the maximum sentence possible, life in prison. He'll be eligible for parole after serving at least 28.5 years behind bars.
For Jovan's family, the sentence brings a lot of mixed emotions.
I can't speak for how everyone else felt, but I don't feel like it was enough for me. I never will. You took your daughter's mother's life in front of your child. You took a loving mother away from her baby. You get to continue to breathe. Where's justice in that? You take a life. Why do you deserve to breathe? My mama had to see all this stuff, see what you did, how you did it, and you were smiling in there like this ain't nothing. Could have took a plea bargain and not even got it this many years and just been going on, but you made us go through this.
At the end of the day, Jovan's family hopes that her story and legacy can help another woman avoid the same fate.
Black women, like, protect ourselves, protect each other, speak up, talk about it. Like, these men are out here killing us for real. This is the real truth. Over jealousy, over a phone call, we gotta speak up and speak out. We see signs, red flags, don't just ignore them. Baby, we gotta protect ourselves. Know your self-worth, love yourself. Domestic violence is not a joke. You see red flags, you see one red flag. Remove yourself. You got to have that strength to want to walk away for yourself, even if it hurts. There ain't a day that don't go by that I don't cry by my sister. It's hard.
Abuse is never okay. If you or... When a Florida apartment catches fire, first responders make a tragic discovery inside.
She has significant burn marks over her torso.
I mean, it was heartbreaking.
But it's soon clear this was no ordinary fire.
The face of the smoke detectors have been removed.
This was a cover-up for murder. someone intentionally did this?
The investigation reveals a tumultuous relationship ready to explode.
He had threatened Kayla in the past.
There's a love triangle going on here.
I said, man, we still can mess around. I don't care, no, I get beat.
It's getting messier and messier.
She didn't think that it would get this far. She thought she had it under control.
However, just as the investigation closes in on a killer,
now you going down, baby. They got evidence on your behind.
one small mistake could cause their case to go up in smoke.
They have the whole story, and sometimes they just slip up.
He was out boasting and bragging. They let me go, I'm free, I'm free.
It's an unbelievable feeling. More suburban, it's more strip malls and other things like that, instead of the big high-rises and condos and clubs and fancy hotels that you're gonna find on South Beach.
But at 9 p.m., Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue are in a race against time.
Miami-Dade Rescue 911 received a number of calls about a fire in an apartment complex in Homestead, Florida.
Miami-Dade County Police and Fire, what is your emergency?
We're on fire, please send us up right away.
What's on fire?
It's one of the apartments, it's the 3rd floor.
When the authorities arrive on scene, officers evacuate the remaining tenants, while firefighters prepare to extinguish the blaze.
Fortunately, a sprinkler system inside the unit has worked to put out most of the fire, and they're able to put out whatever remnants of the fire remain.
Amidst the chaos, they learn the apartment belongs to a 22-year-old woman named Kayla Gloucester.
I received a call from the apartment management that the apartment was on fire. Immediately, I hung up the phone and I called Kayla. I called and I called and I called and she didn't answer.
I was calling her phone trying to see where she at. I thought she had jumped in the car with somebody and went and left a pot on the stove.
However, when firefighters enter the apartment, they make a tragic discovery.
Kayla Gloucester is lying on the floor. Her body is burned.
She didn't even have a chance. Kayla is dead.
22-year-old Kayla Gloucester had a vibrant personality that set her apart from the crowd.
She was a firecracker. I mean, she was loving, but a little bit feisty.
Kayla did not hold back. She was very blunt. She always told the truth, whether you liked it or not.
But when you get to know her, she's very funny. She was fun to be around. She was a jokester.
Everyone just gravitated towards her. She was very outgoing, free-spirited.
We were those girls. We were popular, we were pretty. So yeah, we took full advantage of that.
As a true Miami-Dade native, Kayla also had a keen eye for fashion.
She was passionate about designer wear.
She was a fashionista. She would get her nails like Hello Kitty. And if her closet was open, I'm going shopping.
However, Kayla's favorite activity was spending time with her family.
She loves family gatherings. That was her passion. And we would always have outings. Every weekend, we were probably doing something as a family.
She was so soft-hearted. She was my protector. She was my first best friend.
But in one moment, Kayla's family changed forever.
On January 23rd, 2009, Kayla's older brother, Derek, was killed in a shooting.
He just was going to meet his buddy, and they was going to go somewhere else. Then that's when all hell broke loose.
He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't think that was for him. That was not his time.
It was the first traumatic death in our family that we have ever experienced. So it did kind of knock us off our feet.
The guy that did it, Little Bill, he confessed to it. And they gave him a pass on it because he was cooperating on other murder cases. They only gave him 25 years. And that's all he got.
In the wake of her brother's murder, Kayla became even more driven.
She wanted to go on to be a correction officer, but after she finished school, she had to work at these jobs here and there.
Kayla worked at the car wash and like Pizza Hut.
Eventually, Kayla saved up enough funds to afford her first apartment.
But they had a gate, you had to go inside the gate and stuff. It was a nice, quiet area. It was really nice.
Kayla had also started dating someone new, 32-year-old Robert Halton.
Kayla was walking through the neighborhood one day and Robert like rode up on her and like, hey, how you doing?
Robert was, he's a bigger guy. He was a football coach. He worked construction and other jobs.
He was a single dad and he had full custody of his son.
Robert may have been 10 years older than Kayla, but they seemed like kindred spirits.
She liked the fact that he was older. She felt like he was someone who could protect her.
It was nice because he treated her very well, very gentle with her. He would give her whatever she wanted. And if she ever come to him with a request, he was able to provide it for her.
But now, Kayla Gloucester has been found dead in her South Miami apartment after it went up in flames. And a closer look of the scene reveals signs of foul play.
When looking at the smoke detectors, what they realize is that the face of the detectors have been removed.
Even more chilling, the burns aren't Kayla's only injuries.
Kayla has also been stabbed in the throat.
Maybe this wasn't an accidental fire. Maybe this was a cover-up for murder.
November 15th, 2013, Miami-Dade firefighters have just found 22-year-old Kayla Gloucester deceased inside her apartment.
She has significant burn marks over her torso.
And it's soon clear Kayla's tragic death was no accident.
The face of the smoke detectors have been removed.
Kayla has also been stabbed in the throat.
They now have a homicide on their hands.
As Kayla's family members arrive on scene, they're hoping for good news.
We didn't know what had happened. We just knew the apartment was on fire, and that was it.
But their hopes are soon crushed.
Next thing you know, I see 4 cars pull up. I see the badges, and it got homicide. That's when he told me they found her dead.
I was broken. I was broken to endure another loss of losing a child. That's the pain is unexplainable. Yet to lose one, then to lose another one.
I mean, we cried together. I mean, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
I was miles away when my dad called me. That moment was very shattering, and it was the second tragic event that has occurred in my life.
Inside the apartment, homicide detectives get to work processing the crime scene.
What they discovered was blood in several locations. There was blood on the bedroom door frame and the closet.
There's blood in the bathroom. There's blood by the toilet. There's blood on the bathtub area.
Investigators surmise that whatever happened to Kayla, she put up a fight.
They noticed that she has deep cuts to her hands.
The girl was in there getting it down. She did not make it easy. Her wounds and her injuries, it conveyed that.
Following the trail of evidence, detectives uncover multiple signs of arson attempts.
The mattress looks like it was set on fire. There's a portion of the carpet that looks like it had been set on fire. They also noticed a bottle of motor oil in the kitchen area. And they believe that this is what the individual had used to set the fire.
Someone intentionally did this. It appears that the killer may have stabbed her first and then set her body on fire to try to destroy evidence.
The sprinkler, it heat up and it burst, and it still set off the fire alarm.
It did not appear that any of her property had been taken. So they ruled out the possibility of this was someone who came to steal and burglarize.
There does not seem to be any signs of forced entry.
This was someone that Kayla knew and felt safe enough with to let them into her space.
In their search for suspects, detectives turn to Kayla's devastated parents. Do they have any idea who could have done this to her?
She was not troublemaker in the sense where she would just attract that type of energy from anyone.
But Kayla's parents say there is one person who's been causing trouble in Kayla's life.
That person was Robert Holton.
Their relationship was tumultuous. They would be on again, they would be off again.
There was red flags. He did start being mean. He did start being nasty towards her.
They say he had threatened Kayla in the past.
In April of 2013, Kayla called me. She said, "Dad, Robert over here busting my windows out of my car, and he's beating at my door with a crowbar."
Kayla's dad immediately raced over there to intervene.
Where is he?
I don't know. He left.
When I got there, all her windows was bust out. Robert wasn't there. He wasn't on the premises. He was gone. So I gave her my phone. I said, "Call him." He answered my number. I asked him, "Hey, why you did what you did with Kayla Windows?" And he wouldn't say nothing.
Answer me.
Kayla's father says he wasn't letting Robert off easy.
I say, "Do not play with that." I said, "I don't take that lightly. You're gonna fix those windows on that car." And I told him where the car was gonna be at, what shop I was taking it to, and whatever he did, when I went to go pick the car up, it was paid for.
Kayla's father says she eventually decided to end things with Robert for good, and even started dating someone else.
She'd recently moved on with a young man named Cedric.
He was coming, visiting Kayla at least 2 to 3 nights out of the week. So he was getting ready to move in full time with Kayla.
He definitely promised me that, he'll take care of her.
Did that set Robert off?
Love makes some people go crazy.
Miami-Dade detectives investigating the murder of 22-year-old Kayla Gloucester have just learned that she'd recently ended things with her on and off boyfriend, Robert Holton, and moved on with a young man named Cedric.
He was just a little bit older than us, took care of his family, took care of everyone around him.
Just then, Cedric arrives at the crime scene, shocked by the tragic news.
I actually liked him for Kayla. I mean, it was nothing but respect and love. I mean, he got my number, I got his number.
He was actually, I feel like, the love of her life, almost.
Now, detectives wonder if Robert was so jealous of Kayla's new relationship with Cedric that it motivated him to kill her.
They want to speak to Robert Holton ASAP.
He agreed to speak with them.
After the sun comes up over Miami-Dade County, detectives sit down with Robert inside an interrogation room. Robert wastes no time claiming his innocence.
Kayla, my son, they was like close and heard me right now. I'm in question for something I didn't do.
He says that she's someone that he loves and cares about, and that he wouldn't want to see anything bad happen to her.
His story isn't really matching up with what they've learned from Kayla's family. According to Robert, he and Kayla were still very much together.
How long had you been going out with Kayla at this time? But now, man, like off and on, like 1.5 years.
He admits that there's some problems in the relationship, but says he would never hurt her.
Like, we used to get into little fights and stuff like that, but it wasn't really not serious. Were you in love with Kayla? Yeah, that was my ace.
Robert says he'd even spent time with Kayla at her apartment earlier that day.
So she asked me what I'm gonna come through. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come through when I get off.
Robert indicated that he stopped by his employer to get paid, and from there, he went to Kayla's apartment.
So what time do you think you got to Kayla? By like 3:30. And what happened when you got there? Man, I was talking, you know what I'm saying? And then she told me that she had one son. Man,
He said they hung out for a while, they had sex, then he had to leave to go and walk his dog.
So you think you left there at what time? I left there by around 6:30.
If Robert is telling the truth, that means he left about 2 hours before Kayla's apartment caught fire.
He said he spent the rest of the evening with his 9-year-old son.
Robert says he only learned of Kayla's murder after getting a call from his friend, Noel.
Noel told him that she had seen on Facebook that Kayla was dead, that in fact people were writing, "Rest in peace, Kayla." He said he couldn't believe it.
I'm like, man, stop playing with me. She ain't dead. She can't be. She like, yeah. So then I hung up the phone with her. I called her sister, Shayon.
He called me and asked me if Kayla was all right. And I'm like, what do you mean if she's all right?
She was like, oh, basically, they blaming you. I said, blaming me? I said, man, it's crazy because I ain't do nothing.
So Robert says when he got the call from detectives, he was eager to clear his name.
Robert says he had nothing to do with it. He wasn't there.
But is he telling the truth? Before concluding their interview, detectives want to ask Robert about Kayla's new boyfriend, Cedric.
He admits he knows Kayla had been dating Cedric.
When her boyfriend comes over around a certain time, she was back messing with him, this and that.
Surprisingly, Robert says he had actually agreed to the arrangement.
I said, man, we still mess around. I don't care, no, I get me. You know what I'm saying? And we just had to mutual understanding.
Robert admits he had been messing around with other women too, including his friend Noel.
So was it like a girlfriend, or just someone you were seeing? It was like, man, I was having sex, but she knew about Kayla. She knew I had other girls, so... Did Kayla know about her? Nah, she didn't know about her.
Robert claims Cedric was also in the dark about what was going on behind closed doors.
According to Robert, he and Kayla had started seeing each other again, but Cedric did not know.
He knew that Robert was like some guy she used to just talk to, you know, just like an ex.
And he was still trying to figure out about me. He asked me in my inbox, oh, you got messing with her? I'm like, no, I wasn't finna snitch on him, you know what I'm saying?
This love triangle is becoming more of a love square, and it's getting messier and messier.
In speaking with the on and off boyfriend of murder victim Kayla Gloucester, Miami-Dade detectives have learned she was embroiled in a complicated love triangle.
According to her family, Kayla broke up with Robert and started dating Cedric, but Robert says he and Kayla were still very much together.
Robert just admitted that him and Kayla had just had sex in her apartment just a few hours before she was killed.
But Robert claims he and Kayla had a special arrangement.
I said, man, you still can mess around.
They were both seeing other people on the side. While Kayla was dating Cedric, Robert was hooking up with his friend Noel.
Just then, investigators make a telling observation about Robert's hands.
He had some injuries on his hand that would be consistent with someone who may have engaged in stabbing someone and cut themselves.
However, Robert quickly offers up a defense.
He said, oh, I do construction. That's how that happened.
Now, the investigators are even more suspicious of Robert, but they'll need additional evidence before they can make an arrest in this case.
Investigators asked him if he'd consent to giving a DNA sample. And Robert agreed to let them take the sample.
As detectives await the results of the DNA test, the report from Kayla's autopsy comes in. And what it says stuns everyone.
The autopsy results show Kayla wasn't just stabbed in the neck and set on fire. She was also choked and drowned.
She had been strangled to the point that a blood vessel in her eye had burst.
She had water in her lungs. Her lungs was twice the size of a person of her stature. Just a lot of water she swallowed.
Detectives already knew they were dealing with a brutal crime, but this takes it one step further.
This is overkill.
It was a multiple of things that killed her, meaning that she suffered. She was suffering.
And detectives soon get another surprise. A visit from Robert Holton's alleged friend and lover, Noel.
In the interview with Robert Holton, he had told the detectives Noel told him of the death of Kayla.
But according to Noel, there was much more to the story than that.
Robert said, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna come by your house.
Robert picked Noel up, and they continued their conversation on the road.
At some point, she joked with him that, oh, I know you did it. And he joked back with her, oh, how did you know?
Then the conversation took a dark turn.
Robert asked Noel to help him with his alibi, and she's like, oh my God, he really did it.
Robert confessed to her that he had killed Kayla.
He indicated that he just lost it. He lost control.
According to Noel, it all began when Robert and Kayla were getting intimate earlier that evening, but he could tell Kayla wasn't into it.
Therefore, he was having some difficulty performing. So he asked Kayla to give him oral sex. She declined.
He got offended and started calling her names. So she told him to get out.
Get out. Get out now.
Robert said that the fight ensued. He indicated that Kayla hit him.
Kayla mentioned that Cedric was better than him.
And that really set Robert off.
He just lost it. He lost control.
He clicked, and he picked Kayla up and slammed her. And like kind of dazed her.
Then he dragged her into the bathroom and attempted to drown her in the toilet and strangle her.
But the attack didn't end there.
He went to the kitchen, he grabbed a knife, he came back and stabbed Kayla.
It wasn't just like one hit and she was out. She gave him a run for his money. She was fighting for her life.
Once Kayla was dead, Robert knew he needed to cover his tracks.
When he first tried to set the mattress on fire, it wouldn't take.
So he went and he got some motor oil from his car and brought it back to set the place on fire.
After torching the mattress, he went back to try and burn Kayla's body as well, assuming the flames would destroy all the evidence.
Then Robert left Kayla in the bathroom, laying in her own blood, with the apartment on fire.
8.5 hours later, when Robert asked Noel to help him with his alibi, she couldn't believe what she was hearing.
He asked her if the police asked her any questions, if she would tell him that he was there at her apartment until 10 o'clock that night.
Noel was understandably resistant to get involved in this, and that made Robert angry.
As they were talking, he became more aggressive and angry. So aggressive and angry that she wanted to get out of the car.
But Robert wasn't having it.
She said, I am so scared.
She was trapped inside a moving car with this maniac.
Is telling Miami-Dade detectives a harrowing tale about her alleged friend-turned-lover, Robert Holton.
Robert admitted to Noel that he killed Kayla Gloucester and tried to force her into helping him out with his alibi.
But according to Noel, when she resisted, Robert turned his anger onto her.
She said, I am so scared.
You can't say nothing.
She was trapped inside a moving car with this maniac.
At the next stop, Noel took off running.
He tried to chase her in the car, but she was still able to escape from him.
Once Noel fled from Robert, Robert called her multiple times. He threatened her, told her she should not talk to the police.
Noel's statement is a vital piece of evidence for the investigators.
Detectives get a warrant for Robert's phone records.
And when those cell phone records are received, they tell a different story than the one Robert has told the police.
Originally, Robert told police he was several miles away near his home when the fire in Kayla's apartment began.
Despite his testimony, his phone was pinging on cell towers near Kayla's apartment as late as 8:57 that evening.
That's just minutes before rescuers arrived on the scene. For investigators, this is huge.
The dots are connected. He had lied about where he was, and his phone records prove that.
Furthermore, a search of Robert's criminal history reveals he has a lengthy rap sheet.
He had assault charges for an unrelated incident.
There had been instances of domestic violence.
Unfortunately, though, investigators will need more evidence to officially charge Robert with Kayla's murder.
Even with the phone logs and Noel's testimony, they wanted physical evidence to connect Robert to the crime.
They did not want him to get away with it, and they were very meticulous, and they took their time.
Detectives' last hope rests on the results of the forensic testing.
The labs sometimes take months, if not years, to return the results of DNA samples.
During the time of the police investigation, Robert was not in custody.
I just knew that he was out. My best friend is gone. We knew he did it, and we just felt like he was just out, just roaming.
He was like making Facebook posts like, oh yeah, y'all thought I killed Kayla. Why would I do that to my ex?
He was out boasting and bragging. Oh, I ain't did nothing. Man, I'm free. They let me go. I'm free.
As the weeks and months drag on, Kayla's family begins to wonder if they'll ever see justice.
I didn't have any words. I just wanted him to serve the consequences of the wrong that he did to her.
According to Kayla's father, he eventually tried to take matters into his own hands.
I went to his mama's house. I knocked on the door. He put the police on me. He told the police her dad is a problem. He pushing the issue. And I was like, you damn right I'm gonna push the issue. You damn right, that's my child.
In fall of 2014, detectives finally received the call they've been waiting for from the forensics lab.
It took almost a year before detectives were able to get the results of those DNA samples, but it was a match.
Robert Holton's DNA was a match for blood found at the crime scene.
That would be very hard to explain unless he was involved in the attack on Kayla.
This indicates that while Robert was stabbing Kayla, he cut himself. And this blood was proof of that fact.
Now you going down, baby. They got evidence on your behind.
On October 15th, 2014, Miami police arrest Robert at home.
Thank you, Jesus, honey. Because it was already done and said.
Just receiving that call, it was a big relief because I was like, I f***ing knew it.
It's a small victory, but detectives know they still have work to do. They continue to press Robert for answers.
He's trying to say, oh, when he left her, she was still alive. That was his argument, that yeah, I was there, but I had left.
At this point, detectives know Robert is lying.
It bothered you that she was seeing somebody else. You can't be in love with her like that and not be bothered at knowing that some other guy's in her.
Nah, not really, because if that's the case, I would have went back with her. To be honest with you,
You're full of Robert.
I want to be the second boyfriend. That's what he told me over the phone. But men don't do stuff like that. We want to be number one.
Robert constantly denies that he was in fact involved in Kayla's murder. Over and over again, he says, I didn't kill that girl.
I didn't kill this
Robert.
girl, man. I did not kill this girl, man.
Robert.
Detectives tell Robert they have everything they need to prove him guilty, with or without a confession.
The evidence is there. Everything is laid out.
Eventually, Robert says that he wants an attorney.
That's all you need to say, Robert. That's all you need to say. It's over from this point.
Once police leave, Robert finally appears to feel the full weight of the charges against him.
Yeah, this bull crap. My blood mixed with her blood. Ain't no way in the world. I was not mixed with her blood, man. He's tripping.
He now realizes he's caught. So yeah, he was scared. He was definitely scared.
Investigators charge Robert with second-degree murder as well as arson. And 1 year later, in 2015, Robert finally goes on trial. According to Kayla's loved ones, Robert's demeanor in court adds to their pain.
Robert couldn't even look her mom in her eyes. He couldn't even face her.
I felt we was doing an exorcism in court. That's what I felt.
But just as Kayla's family is preparing to receive justice for their loved one, the court proceedings come to a grinding halt.
The judge is forced to declare a mistrial.
2 years after the brutal death of 22-year-old Kayla Gloucester, her former boyfriend, Robert Holton, finally stands trial for murder. But getting justice for Kayla will be easier said than done.
A detective had stated during his testimony that Robert Holton was involved in another crime.
They couldn't mention that.
There's certain evidence that has to be excluded because they believe it's too prejudicial.
So the judge decided that in the interest of justice, that case would end in a mistrial.
It's a tough blow, but there is one silver lining for Kayla's family.
When prosecutors initially indicted Robert, they went with second-degree murder to be safe because they weren't sure if they'd be able to prove premeditation. But after the first trial, they felt more confident.
It was beneficial for us because then the charges changed. When it was second degree, it went to first.
And now, with the first-degree murder charges, Robert is eligible for the death penalty.
However, Kayla's loved ones must wait 8 grueling years for another trial.
I was very impatient. Right, like I wanted him to pay for what he had done.
Finally, in August 2023, with a brand new jury, Robert once again faces the court. But this time, a new problem arises.
The jury decided that they could not reach a unanimous verdict.
You had one person that didn't want blood on their hands because it was a death penalty case.
One mistrial may happen. 2 mistrials is a lot less common.
For Kayla's family, The announcement of a second mistrial is a crushing blow. But in April 2024, the stage is set once again.
Everyone is hoping third time's a charm.
In their third time presenting the case, prosecutors argue Kayla's murder was an act of jealousy and control.
His methods was very calculated, and he used that to his advantage to keep being in her life.
But when Kayla flipped the script on Robert, he couldn't handle it.
She started flourishing in another relationship with someone else, and that someone was Cedric.
When Kayla threw Cedric in Robert's face, something in him snapped and he unleashed all the rage that was building inside him.
I don't think she was afraid of him, honestly, but she didn't think that it would get this far, to be honest. She thought she had it under control.
When the jury retires to deliberate, Kayla's loved ones are anxious for the results.
I was on pins and needles. Didn't know what was going to happen again.
But this time, the jury is able to reach a unanimous decision.
Robert Holton was declared guilty of first-degree murder and guilty of arson.
It was just so like, full of emotion. Like, you could hear the relief in the courtroom.
I could breathe now, just thinking, God, thank you. Justice has prevailed.
However, the jury decides against the death penalty.
The jurors decided to spare Robert's life and recommended to the judge a sentence of life without parole.
I feel like life is better anyways, so you can sit and dwell on what you did.
He got to suffer like he made her suffer. That's what he got to do.
This was a case that shows that with patience and determination, a person doesn't have to get away with murder.
Although Kayla's family is relieved to see justice served, they still live with the hurt of losing their loved one in such a devastating way.
As a father, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want no revenge or some get back. Of course I want Robert dead, but with my belief, I know I have to find some type of way to forgive because God is the ultimate authority.
I can't say that we have closure because there's never any closure, but we're learning to live with what we have endured.
I hope when you see this story, open up your eyes, be wise, don't take nothing for granted. I mean, you might be in love with this guy, but if they love you, they won't harm you. Somebody mistreat, say something. You could get out before it's too late.
Abuse is never okay. If you or someone you love is in an abusive relationship, She was a young mother with big dreams and a pure heart.
She was a wonderful mom, absolutely wonderful.
Her daughter was her everything.
Maya had like a light to her.
Until she met her fate in a dark alley.
It looked like a brutal killing. She was almost unrecognizable.
There was lots and lots of rage there.
The hunt for her killer will unveil a predator hiding in plain sight.
He was obsessive with her, and he was not going to take no for an answer.
He put her in the trunk of his car, and he tried to drive off with her.
Somebody who loves you would not hurt you like that.
That speaks to what type of monster he is.
But can investigators track him down before it's too late?
He was on the run as a fugitive.
He was dangerous. He was mentally unhinged.
This ain't over until he's in custody.
Hands up! Get him up! Reach outside, open the car door!
January 8th, 2023, Joliet, Illinois. Residents of this Chicago suburb are facing frigid temperatures following a festive holiday season.
The holidays have come and gone. The winter weather is here.
So typically during this time of year for the Joliet Police Department, things are quiet.
But just after midnight, 911 dispatch receives a concerned call.
Joliet Police.
So, there has been like this car in the middle of the alleyway, and I don't know, there's nobody who kind of like come and claim it.
In Chicago, obstructed alleys are a common thing that we see.
Is anybody in the car?
No, not that I can see. There's nobody that I can see in the vehicle.
Okay. All right, we'll have someone check it out.
When they arrived on the scene, they observed the parked vehicle that was called in.
There's blood splatter all over the driver's side window, and there's a woman slumped over in the front seat.
The responding officers quickly make another tragic discovery.
Upon further investigation, they noticed that there was a child in a car seat in the rear seat of the vehicle.
Fortunately, the little girl appears to be unharmed, but they can't be certain.
She is transported to the hospital for full medical evaluation.
Meanwhile, officers attempt to identify the lifeless woman behind the wheel.
Once police run the vehicle's plates, they find out that the car is registered to 24-year-old Maya Smith.
Growing up in Joliet, Maya Smith was the apple of her mother's eye.
She was my shining light. She definitely knew how to brighten up a room. She had a very gentle spirit. She had a heart for others.
It would be real hard to find somebody who wouldn't say that Maya had like a light to her.
She always loved to sing. Singing was her thing, and she loved to dance. I would watch her when she was younger, just dance and twirl, and always, she just had this like free spirit and this laugh. Her laugh, I can hear it all the time.
She had quite the laugh. Anybody would say that. It was like the female version of Goofy. His laugh, it was like that.
But as much as Maya liked to have fun, she was serious about her faith.
She was raised in church. We often talked about God and just the spirit that she carried.
She was selfless, God-loving.
She did things with integrity. She believed in doing what was right.
After graduating high school, Maya enrolled in Joliet Junior College and also took classes at Post University.
She mentioned she wanted to be a nurse to me, and she also wanted to be a therapist. Helping other people was like something she enjoyed doing.
She always strived to look out for other people, just a great-spirited person.
And in 2017, Maya met someone special, a caring and attentive young man named Derek Scott.
When she met him, she was focusing on, school and just blossoming in life at that point.
She took her time with Derek, but Maya did eventually realize, hey, I'm in love with this man.
They seemed to have good chemistry, and they liked doing the same things, and she liked that he was laid back.
In 2019, after 2.5 years of dating Derek, Maya discovered she was pregnant.
When she got pregnant, she was in shock, but she was excited.
She always wanted children, so I was happy for her and just wanted to be supportive.
The couple's daughter was born in April of 2020.
Maya was a wonderful mom, absolutely wonderful.
Her daughter was her everything, so she just began to really, buckle down and focus on what was important.
However, the stress of parenthood began to strain Maya and Derek's relationship.
Derek and Maya were experiencing some of their hard times, some of their issues.
They were having problems being on the same page with things. They definitely had two different personalities. Ultimately, they decided to end things.
By the spring of 2022, Maya had moved on, finding comfort in a new connection with a 48-year-old barber named Jermaine Mandley.
She met Jermaine on Facebook, and they just started talking and conversing.
Jermaine was well over half of Maya's age. She was 24. He was in his late 40s.
She had never dated someone of his age, but she liked that he was more stable and older and seemed to know what he wanted. He liked to show her off. He liked to buy her nice things. She felt loved.
Maya was looking forward to what the future held for her.
She was excited about school, she was excited about family, and she was just excited about adventures that were coming next.
But now, police are shocked to find 24-year-old Maya Smith shot to death inside her vehicle.
Maya has been shot several times in her stomach and in her head.
It looked like a brutal killing. She was almost unrecognizable.
To the police, that level of violence and overkill only mean one thing.
This was definitely a crime of passion.
After ending an almost 3-year-long relationship with the father of her child, Maya Smith found solace in an older man named Jermaine Mandley.
He seemed established and like he was looking to share his life with somebody.
They did a lot of stuff together that would kind of make you feel like it was gonna go kind of far.
But less than a year later, Juliet police have found Maya deceased in her car.
After an examination of Maya's body, they find she was shot 8 times total and 5 times in her face at point-blank range, meaning her killer was up close and personal.
Any single one of those gunshots would be enough to kill her. So the fact that the killer shot Maya that many times suggested that there was lots and lots of rage there.
This was definitely a crime of passion.
Investigators also note that the placement of Maya's body is unusual.
She was slumped over the front of the vehicle with her head on the driver's side and her legs kind of facing towards the passenger side of the vehicle.
It looks like whoever shot her wanted to make sure that the body was invisible to the oncoming eye.
Underneath Maya's body, police find multiple 9mm shell casings.
As the police collect the shell casings, they also find her cell phone, which is still locked.
All that is just invaluable evidence to us, and it could help give us a bigger picture of what actually really occurred.
While the evidence is sent to the crime lab for further processing, investigators deliver the tragic news to Maya's loved ones.
It's very difficult to go give a death notification to a family member. They had to tell the family that not only was Maya brutally murdered, but also it occurred in front of their grandchild.
They told me what happened, just that they had found her. Yeah, it was overwhelming. It was just kind of like a blur.
Fortunately, Maya's 2-year-old daughter is now safe.
She was at the hospital being cared for. She was doing well.
But investigators still need to get to the bottom of who committed this heinous crime.
It's crucial to try to put together a timeline as to how this victim got to where we're at.
Maya's mother informs the detectives that the last time she saw her daughter was yesterday afternoon.
Me and my sister were taking down my Christmas tree. Maya, she just wasn't herself that day. She just had a lot on her plate. So I just let her go out the door, and that was the last time I seen her.
It appears that this murder was incredibly personal, so it led investigators to begin to ask the family members about anybody that they knew she was dating.
They said Maya's been on and off with this guy, Jermaine Mandley, for probably a little bit over a year.
He was a little bit older, a lot bit older, in my opinion.
Obviously, being that she had a child, you are also going to want to try to talk to the father of the child.
Investigators learned Maya shared a child with Derek Scott.
Was Derek jealous of Maya's new relationship with Jermaine? Detectives decide to run a background check on him.
We end up finding that Derek Scott was incarcerated at the DuPage County Jail at the time of the homicide.
He was dealing with some unrelated charges.
While it appears on his face that Derek couldn't have done this crime because he was already in custody, police still feel it's worth having a discussion with him to try to figure out what he knows.
Myself and another detective actually drove to the DuPage County Jail and spoke with Derek.
What is this all about? It's about Maya. She's gone.
What do you mean she's gone?
I just remember the raw emotion from Derek finding out that his baby's mother was killed.
Even though they had broken up, he admits to police that he still had feelings.
I asked Derek, have you ever met Jermaine before? And I remember specifically Derek acting like he knew this guy was bad news.
Derek goes on to say that even though he's only met Jermaine once, he did not have a good feeling about him.
And he thinks this because he found out a few months ago that Jermaine viciously attacked Maya.
After 24-year-old mother Maya Smith was found shot to death in her car, her loved ones are still reeling from the tragedy.
I broke down and I was crying, and I don't know. It was hard. It was bad.
Everybody was just falling apart. We was devastated.
And her baby was in the car.
One of those bullets could have bounced off and hit the 2-year-old in the back seat. I just don't have no words for that.
Now, Illinois detectives are speaking with Maya's ex-boyfriend, Derek, who raises some concerns about her new flame, Jermaine Mandley.
He did direct them to Jermaine, who he heard did have a bit of a brutal background.
While he doesn't know all the details, he knows that Jermaine and Maya got into a heated incident back in June of 2022.
They're just sitting in the car talking. He wanted to take her somewhere, but she didn't want to go. I think it was like the middle of the night or something, and her daughter's in the house. So she's like, no, I don't want to go.
I guess he ended up arguing with her, pushing her around, shoving her around.
She tried to leave, and that's when he attacked her. And he was making threats to put her in a trunk of his car. And she was like, oh, that's not gonna happen. And she fought him, this is insane.
But eventually, Jermaine was able to overpower Maya.
He put her in the trunk of his car, and he tried to drive off with her.
I think he wanted to kidnap her, but she kicked her way out.
She was able to get out of the trunk of the car, and she ran down the street screaming for help.
Thankfully, someone heard her cries for help and called the police.
Derek tells detectives Maya was injured as a result of the attack.
I remember her lip busted, her black eye, nails missing.
And that's when they filed a police report against Jermaine for domestic battery.
But what really catches detectives' attention is Derek's last conversation with Maya.
Derek had actually spoke to Maya the day that she died.
Maya said that she wanted to leave Jermaine and get back with him.
This immediately jumped out to detectives as a red flag and a potential motive.
Maybe the reason why Maya was killed is because she confessed her love for Derek, and that's what really made Jermaine go over that line.
Back at the station, detectives begin digging into Jermaine's past.
When the police began to do a background search on Jermaine, they are absolutely floored by what they find. Jermaine is not your ordinary criminal.
We find out that he He killed somebody years ago in a vehicle.
The incident stemmed from Jermaine being pulled over by the police. He drove off, taking the police on a chase. The chase resulted in Jermaine crashing into another vehicle and the occupants of that vehicle dying.
That vehicle was occupied by a beloved pastor and his wife, a former educator. They were following a member of their congregation home that Sunday morning.
Jermaine was found to have twice the legal limit of alcohol and drugs in his system.
In the end, Jermaine pled guilty to 2 counts of reckless homicide and was sentenced for 15 years. He was released on parole in 2014. That was just a handful of years before he met Maya Smith.
But the homicide is not Jermaine's only offense.
Based on his arrest record, he has been committing serious, dangerous crimes for decades.
Many women have come forward filing orders of protection against him for violence.
The police also learned that Jermaine had been married several times over, and one of the ex-wives stated that he was responsible for physical, mental, emotional abuse repeatedly over the course of their marriage and their relationship.
The most significant discovery in Jermaine's file is also the most recent.
Just like Derek told them, they find this domestic violence report that details the assault between Maya and Jermaine.
That occurred on June 13th of 2022.
He had roughed her up pretty well. The evidence was there.
You put it together and you're saying, well, this is the type of person we're dealing with.
But now, homicide detectives see from the case file that the charges were quickly dropped.
Unfortunately, she missed the court date. That's why it was not active. She went to the first one, but there was apparently a second one.
To be working, to be in school, to be taking care of your child, now you're adding on another set of issues that you have to deal with. I think that was just because she was overwhelmed, maybe scared.
She did have a small conversation with Jermaine. Like, I don't want to see you again. You hurt me. He kind of apologized in a way. Oh, I wasn't really gonna kidnap you, whatever the heck that means.
In many domestic violence cases, the offenders, they basically beg and plead and say, you know, I only did this because I love you, and please give me another chance.
Did Maya give Jermaine that second chance?
In their search for answers, detectives turn to Maya's cell phone.
After the detectives were able to finally get into Maya's cell phone, they did notice that she had Jermaine listed as a contact name, Do Not Answer.
They also find that Maya had over 600 missed calls from him.
But the missed calls are only the beginning. Texts between Maya and Jermaine reveal even more.
There were a series of weeks leading up to the murder where there was a clear back and forth between the two of them.
About 2 weeks prior to her death on Christmas Day, she had eventually told him that she had found out who she really loves, and that was her baby's father, not Jermaine.
Maya was attempting to break up with him, attempting to leave him, telling him that she didn't think they were good together. It was very clear that she was trying to cut off ties with this person.
Jermaine tried to convince her that her baby's father didn't love her and that basically she should be with Jermaine. Even after her rejection of him, he would message her to try to get back with them, try to at least still have a sexual relationship with her. He would even say that he would pay her money to be with him.
It's clear from his text messages and the way he would interact with her that he was rather obsessive with her and that he was not going to take no for an answer.
But it's Maya's final messages with Jermaine that provide a crucial piece of the puzzle.
It appeared that Jermaine finally wore Maya down.
The last outgoing text message, the last communication from Maya was to that number for Jermaine Manley.
Maya and Jermaine were making plans to meet up on the day that she died.
Detectives investigating the shooting death of beloved 24-year-old single mother Maya Smith have just learned she was supposed to meet up with her estranged boyfriend, Jermaine Mandley, on the day she died.
The last text message on Maya's phone is to Jermaine.
At this point, the investigators have no way of knowing if that meeting actually happened. But if so, it will place Jermaine with Maya at the time she was killed.
But so far, they have no way of getting in contact with Jermaine to conduct a formal interview.
While the search for Jermaine continues, detectives receive word that there's a business near the crime scene with surveillance footage from the night of the 8th.
The manager is able to pull up the surveillance video from the night of the murder for the police to look at. And what the footage shows is absolutely shocking.
The footage clearly shows Maya's car pulling into the alleyway just before 6 p.m., where it sits there for a few minutes.
Then you see the passenger turn signal come on, which I felt that was odd right away, meaning to me I felt that there might have been a struggle in the car. And, during the struggle, the turn signal was hit.
Around a minute after the turn signal was activated, a male figure is seen exiting the vehicle.
It was from a distance, it was dark, so it made it harder to actually see the person.
He shoots back into the car. On camera, you see 5 muzzle flashes, but she was actually struck 8 times. So that means that there was probably shots fired in the car before he got out of the car.
And then he was seen running from the scene.
Although detectives can't make the man's face out very clearly, they believe they know exactly who they're looking at.
The man that was seen firing into the vehicle did fit very closely the physical description of Jermaine.
But where did he go after fleeing from the crime scene?
So right after he kills Maya, he runs southbound in that alley towards Ingalls Avenue, which is like a main thorough, one of the main thoroughs.
And within hours, investigators receive a tip from someone who lives on Ingalls Avenue.
This is Detective Bo.
The caller let the detectives know that on the night of the murder, Jermaine showed up at his home just minutes after the murder would have taken place.
His gut was telling him that Jermaine did something bad.
Detectives head to the home of the tipster, a man named Miles Calder.
He did say that Jermaine had arrived at his home to watch a fight that evening.
They are friends and former coworkers.
According to Miles, Jermaine showed up around 6 p.m., just minutes after the surveillance footage showed a man fleeing from the crime scene.
Miles did tell us that he saw Jermaine have a gun on him, which he said that's not abnormal.
It was a 9mm pistol, which matches the gun used to kill Maya.
Hey, man, you okay?
Yeah, I'll be all right, man.
Miles says that they have a normal night. They started drinking. They partied for the next 5-6 hours.
How long did Jermaine stay?
He was here until just past midnight. That was when the police started showing up in the alley. There were a lot of lights and sirens outside.
How did he react to that?
He said that's when Jermaine started feeling really uneasy and very out of his personality. Kept looking outside, kept washing his hands in the bathroom.
Miles felt unsettled with Jermaine's reaction, but at the time, he didn't know what had occurred in the alley.
After stuff kind of hits social media a few hours later, and then that's when he called us.
As detectives are leaving Miles' house, they notice he has a doorbell camera.
Do you think you could bring up the video of that on your phone?
Yeah, sure.
Detectives asked if they could see the footage from that evening when Jermaine arrived.
In the videos from the doorbell, his face is basically right up to the camera. So you could clearly see it was Jermaine.
He seemed extremely nervous and agitated, and he was mumbling under his breath.
I remember watching that video for the first time saying, this guy's going through an adrenaline dump.
But it's what he says next that truly stuns investigators.
Ultimately, what he uttered from the camera is, I just killed that guy.
The murder of 24-year-old Maya Smith have just located a damning piece of evidence against her on and off boyfriend, Jermaine Mandley.
They're able to obtain doorbell camera footage from Jermaine's friend's house that was recorded right after the murder.
Ultimately, what he uttered from the camera is, I just killed that.
It seemed very clear that this was the person who had done it.
He was probably talking to himself and had no clue that there was a camera there. And to me, that was the smoking gun in the investigation.
With the evidence piling up, on the evening of January 8th, detectives execute a search warrant on Jermaine's house.
When police show up to the house, there's no sign of Jermaine.
But the investigators find a key piece of evidence in his bedroom. They locate clothes that appear to match what the figure was wearing on the surveillance video the night of Maya's murder.
I remember specifically there was a pair of pants that looked like the ones that he was wearing the night of.
And that's not all.
They also find a necklace that appears to have dried blood on it.
However, the gun was not recovered.
And unfortunately, the investigators find no current clues about Jermaine's whereabouts.
Back at the station, detectives turn to every resource available to locate Jermaine.
At that point, we're trying to do everything in our power to get phone records, phone numbers, stuff like that, to try to track him down.
When police try to ping his cell phone, they find that it's been turned off since Sunday. And it was last seen pinging on the I-90 near the Indiana border.
Since it appears Jermaine has fled to Indiana or potentially even farther away, the detectives launch a federal fugitive task force to track Jermaine down.
This ain't over until he's in custody. So the FBI got involved.
Maya's family is left fearful and on edge after learning that Jermaine has fled.
When he was on the run, right away, I felt unsafe because he was dangerous. He was mentally unhinged. I was afraid of what would happen.
I was nervous, hoping that things went correctly, like he didn't get away, that kind of thing. Just praying that, okay, we can have some type of closure.
But just when detectives think that they're hitting a dead end, they get a call from an unexpected source.
She says she's legally married to Jermaine.
Her and Jermaine had been married for about 3 years, but she did in fact leave him last December. Because in addition to his long-standing physical abuse, she found out that Jermaine was with Maya Smith.
And it's what the woman tells detectives next that might be the answer to finally capturing Jermaine.
She was telling our detectives that Jermaine wants to meet up.
She said, he's been reaching out to me.
Simone shares that Jermaine reached out to her via Snapchat using a different name, Larry Love 2023. She said that Jermaine was begging her to help him flee the police.
Simone tells police, even though she had no intention of helping him, that she was very much aware that he was wanted by the police, so she decided to play along, and she agreed to meet up with him at a casino in Hammond, Indiana.
Many of the offenders of domestic violence are so narcissistic that they really think, even though I used to beat my ex-wife, she would never, turn me in.
Now, thanks to Simone's vital tip, investigators know exactly where they can find Jermaine.
On January 10th, police set up a sting operation at the casino where Jermaine was hiding out.
So the Federal Fugitive Task Force stages themselves around the casino area, setting up a perimeter.
Basically waited for him to arrive.
At 6:30 p.m., Jermaine pulls into the casino parking lot, and police spring into action.
Get him up! Give me hands where you can see him!
On January 10th, 2023, federal investigators finally have murder suspect Jermaine Mandley in their crosshairs.
Their fugitive task force ended up locking the car, and they used flashbangs just to make sure that they don't run.
Get him up! Get out of the car! Get your hands up! Go! Hands up! Get him up! Reach outside! Open the car door!
They arrested Jermaine and took him into custody, where he was then transferred back to Joliet.
Back in Joliet, Detective Bo sits down with Jermaine.
I attempted to interview him. He invoked his rights. He did not speak about the incident. No remorse. That, to me, speaks to what type of monster he is, really.
Jermaine is booked into the Will County Jail and charged with first-degree murder.
We also charged child endangerment in addition to the murder counts because he left the baby in the car. He fired the firearm very close to her head in the car.
Maya's family and friends are finally able to find a moment of peace following Jermaine's arrest.
Him getting arrested, yeah, that was exciting. That was exciting. It was, yes, take him to court. I can't wait.
I felt good because he was off the streets and he couldn't hurt anybody else. And now we could breathe.
I was excited, just happy that he's where he needs to be.
As prosecutors prepare for trial, Maya is laid to rest.
Her funeral was beautiful. She was very popular. So many people showed up that it was like, wow, girl. She brought out almost the whole entire city.
It was an emotional day, very emotional. Her mom goes above and beyond when it comes to honoring Maya, and it's a day that will forever be with me.
It was a lot, but I did have a lot of support. It helped to have so much support.
8 months later, in August 2023, Jermaine's trial begins.
It was just surreal, being in the courtroom and him being in there. It was just such a slap in the face because he had no accountability. He didn't even say he was sorry.
He didn't show much emotion during the trial at all. I don't recall a reaction from him at all when we were discussing leaving the baby in the car or even the nature of how Maya was killed.
He just sat there like he did nothing. He just didn't care.
As the trial unfolds, the prosecution presents chilling evidence that paints a disturbing picture of Jermaine's behavior toward Maya.
The prosecutors submit evidence of the couple's text messages that paints Jermaine in the light that he was an abusive and a controlling boyfriend.
There were hundreds of text messages from him.
You could see that he was still trying to convince her to be with him, and her text messages showed that she did not want to have that type of relationship with him.
And on the night of January 7th, Jermaine's violence reached a terrifying peak.
Prosecutors argue that on January 7th, that Jermaine had plans to watch a fight at his friend Mal's home. He began to harass Maya over the phone until she agreed to give him a ride. That is how they ended up in the alley.
When Maya told Jermaine she wasn't interested in seeing him anymore, he immediately snapped and shot her 8 times.
Her kid is in the back seat. You are evil. You are pure evil.
Rejection's a part of life. Everybody in this world's been rejected at some point, but some people just can't handle that.
In order to prove that Jermaine is Maya's killer, prosecutors point out the video surveillance of the crime scene and that Jermaine is in proximity at Miles' house.
Jermaine's estranged wife also takes the stand, detailing the years of abuse she suffered at his hands.
I think that we were all very impressed by her. I mean, she also, just like Maya, is a very young woman compared to Jermaine Manley. And she walked in confidently, stopped and looked at him, took the stand, and told everything that she had to tell.
After a grueling 5-day trial, the jury deliberates for just 30 minutes before rendering a verdict. Guilty.
When we got the verdict, the entire courtroom stood up and cheered before the judge was even done speaking.
Relief. I mean, we knew that was the right verdict, so we were pleased with it.
Jermaine is sentenced to life in prison.
I believe that Jermaine Manley got what he deserved. I believe a life sentence was entirely appropriate for him.
I just prayed that the Lord has mercy on his soul. You know, at least I could have some sense of peace knowing that he would not be back on the street.
Those who knew Maya are left to reflect on the tragedy that could have been prevented.
Considering him having all the previous cases, he should have been locked up somewhere, you know, a long time ago. And then Maya would have never even crossed paths with him.
I felt like he could have been stopped, but it's like he kept getting away with things. He had a track record for doing this to people, and it's like nobody's seen it.
I think a major lesson is that domestic violence doesn't get better.
I tried to tell her story to spread awareness to young women, people that I know that have been in domestic violence situations. I try to talk to them and let them know it could turn, and very quick.
Somebody who loves you would not hurt you like that. I don't care how much they do for you, they would not hurt you like that.
Nobody deserves to get beat. Nobody deserves to get strangled. Nobody deserves to get, attacked.
I would love for the world to remember her as a very nice, sweet person and somebody who cares about other people and a good mother.
She was God-loving. Remember her as God-loving. She had unconditional love for her daughter. She was kind-hearted.
Her daughter is her all over again. She's doing well. She's happy all the time, just so smart and blossoming.
Seeing her daughter, it's almost like we still have a piece of her here.
I just try to make sure I keep her name alive. Maya was and still is a shining light. I'm sure she is watching over so many individuals